Hi, in this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to repair the shoe. This has a broken strap. There you can see the strap coming through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blade and I'm going to have to open here in order to get some space here in order to put my contact glue or my shoe glue underneath here to re-glue this. Now in order to get here I have to open a bit of the foam here. So I'm just going to take a blade and carefully separate this. I will re-stick this, it's not a problem. Right, so there's the strap and it has torn out. You can see it was just barely holding on, and what I need to do is to re-glue this in there, but I first had to open this in order to give me space to work. So I'm going to insert this back in here, pull it through here. Now I've got to make sure that I don't pull too much, because as you can see, if I do that, I've now actually made this shoe smaller. Now I'm just taking a flat screwdriver to feed this underneath. Right, so I've fed that underneath there. There's a couple of layers there. Now what happens is when the person is standing, they're actually standing on the strap, and that's the point of that. So what I've got to do now is make sure that the strap is far underneath there as possible. Here it has folded over, which is incorrect. I need it to go all the way inside there. If you are worried about damaging the shoe, you can use pry tools, plastic tools instead of metal tools. So say for example over here, I can just feed that in there, making sure there are no folds. Right. Now what I've got to do is I've got to make sure that this is the same size as this, because I've fed that in there, but I don't want it to be smaller on the one side than the other side. Right, so now what I'm going to do is measure the outside edge, because this is the side that was broken. I'm going to compare it to the side that is still functional. So I'm just going to measure from the opening to the ridge here. So it's just under 10, it's almost 10.5 centimeters. And this one is 9.5, so it is about 1 centimeter short. So I'm going to just pull it out a little bit. That's fine. Right, so now it is 10.2, which is fine. You can then measure the bottom side as well and compare it. Now I know that this is correct, and I can now put the glue in. Right, I'm using a contact adhesive. This is like a carpet glue, also can be used on shoes. And I'm going to put the glue in here. Now I've got to be careful of putting too much glue, believe it or not. Even though there's a big gap here, once the gap compresses, the glue will just spurt out and get on the side of the shoe, which I don't want. Now the trick here is as follows. This strap folds in there. So it folds in, let's say it folds like that. Now what I've got to do is I've got to get glue there, and I've got to get glue underneath, and that's what's most important. So even though I've folded this strap in now, what I can do now is actually hold it there so that it doesn't move, and I can poke the glue under the strap. I want the glue to go underneath here. So I want it on both sides of that strap. Now in your case, it might actually be easier to glue while this is out. So you might even want to flap the strap out like I've done there. Get the glue underneath and then bend the strap back. Now what I do is I take a little bit of a mild petroleum jelly and I put it on the side here. And the reason I put it here is if any glue seeps out, it will not stain or damage the paintwork here, because the glue goes here and it dries, and then I peel the glue off, it may peel the paint off. And I'll just put a little bit on the foam here. It can be cleaned, it's not a problem. It's just that I don't want the glue to damage this if it does seep out. Right, now I can seat this foam down nicely, and now I can apply pressure. Once you've applied the glue, just make sure to massage it thoroughly, just to make sure that the glue mates and touches all the surfaces and spreads evenly. If you want to, you could do a quick measurement to check that the strap is correct. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to apply pressure. I'm going to stack up the shoe. Just be careful of doing something like this. Some people think that applying pressure means taping the shoe. That's not a good idea. It'll probably deform this foam long term. First, try to put a cloth of sorts underneath here so that if there's any harsh edges, it does not deform the foam. Right, so this battery is now depressed on the shoe and I'm going to leave it to dry overnight. Right, it has now dried overnight and you can see there's a little bit of glue residue that has seeped through, and all I need to do is remove it. Notice that it does not stick to this side because I used that petroleum jelly. The petroleum jelly can be wiped off, but right now I'm just going to remove any of this additional glue residue. There's a little piece here, just comes right off. Right, so I'm just going to cut some of this glue away by just pulling it away. There, I've pulled it away, and if there's any glue on the foam, I just scratch it off. Right, so just having a look at the strength, you can see there it is really strong. Once again, that is completely glued down there, so there's no problem, totally glued. And if I compare it to the other side, you can see there's a bit of free play. This side is quite worn and actually should also be glued, but you can see how the other side has free play while the newly glued side is pretty tight. Yes, over time it will lift a little bit on the inside here. This will release a little bit. If you have some black paint, one can just paint the imperfections on the side here. These are just worn marks from the shoe being used. I'm just taking a permanent marker and just recoloring in the black parts over here, just here on the foam side. Right, here is the repaired shoe, here is the other side, and thanks for watching and cheers.